Please welcome Evan Goldberg.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Suite Connect. It's a special part of Oracle OpenWorld brought to you by Oracle NetSuite. We have some great guests today from the world of business, the world of sports, the world of entertainment. We're going to have some fun. We'll talk a little bit about the challenges and opportunities of growing your business and how Oracle NetSuite can help. So first off, who was at the concert last night? Anybody? All right. We have, some of you are caught on camera. Don't worry, what happens at Suite Connect stays at Suite Connect. So we'll erase that hard drive. But yeah, so I have a little bit of a raspy voice. That's the fault of the band. And I think there were more tattoos on stage than the entire history of open world performers, and that includes Lenny Kravitz. I really want to thank our sponsors, our platinum sponsors, Dell, Boomi, and DSI. They've been great partners on this event. They're great partners in finding solutions for customers. And we actually have a whole host of sponsors. You can go visit them at the Marriott. They have some great technology. They have done some amazing integrations with NetSuite. So please visit and chat with them. Okay. So I actually started my career at Oracle 30 years ago, right out of college. And I left 8 years in. With the advent of the World Wide Web, I saw an opportunity, and I did a startup. In the subsequent years, I saw great challenges, kind of like these. I mean, we had intense competition, hard to attract talent. And what most important for me was that the systems to run the business were really bad, and that sort of inspired me. But in terms of businesses that start, a lot of them fail, and that's what I saw. My business was on the rocks. 3 years later, I was about to become a statistic, and statistics show that actually companies are failing fast these days. So you just got to get out there, and a lot of you know this. Do your best, and sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. Fortunately, I actually have this exact same failure rate, 50%. I have one in the win column, and the one in the win column is what we're going to talk about today. So we built NetSuite, and now Oracle NetSuite, and over almost 20 years. We're going to talk about how we believe that we've got something that can really help you crush your barriers to growth. You can build a great team, delight customers, operate efficiently. Obviously, you do this as a business, but your system should help you, not hinder you. Dealing with new revenue streams, finding new customers, and really being ready for any transformation your business is going to go through. So back in the day, this is sort of what it looked like to have business systems, and this is what I encountered in my startup. A bunch of on-premise software that were siloed. They didn't work together. It was hard to get information about your business. You had like 50 different customer lists. Who really were your customers? No single version of the truth. So this is, what inspired me. I really thought there had to be a better way. So in my periodic chats with Larry, when I'm steering his boat, notice he's like right there, ready to take over the helm at any moment. So in one of our periodic phone calls, I told him my business had, hit a wall, or a reef, as it were. And I wanted to pivot to do systems to help growing businesses. And he said, that's great. You should start with accounting, because that's the core of all your business information, your customers, your products that you sell or services that you sell, the people in your company. And I said, okay, that's great, but I really want to know about my sales. I want to see my pipeline, my forecast. And he said, oh yeah, you're going to want to do the front office stuff too. And by the way, they're probably going to need a web store, because they're going to want to sell on the web. Mind you, this is 1998, so this is straight from the mind of Larry, and the cloud. And he said, you got to run it yourself. You got to run the application for them over the web. They should just be able to use a browser, because these companies don't want to have to manage systems and the complexity therein. And he really saw it. In fact, a couple weeks later, he said, this thing that you're building to run the application on the web, that computing model, that's the next computing model. It's going to be the computing model for the next 1,000 years. He said, I don't know what's going to happen after that, but definitely for the next 1,000 years. So we had that going for us. It was great. It was great news. So that's what we did over 18 years. We started with the notion of building a system not to run a department, but to run a business. We would deliver that service and that system purely in the cloud. There was no term cloud then, but it really is a pure web-based application. And we'd include e-commerce so you could transact and interact with your customers over the web. 18 years later, we were acquired by Oracle. Now we have 5,500 employees doing well over $1 billion in revenue. We're helping 14,000 companies, businesses, and nonprofits around the world. And we're actually physically located, our team, some of which are here today, say hi to them, they have cool t-shirts on. We're physically located in 15 countries. And our mission remains the same. We're singularly focused on helping you grow your business. I'm going to tell you in the next few minutes how we're sort of uniquely positioned to do that for you. So you've probably heard the expression, the more things change, the more they stay the same. There's still a hairball out there. It's just a cloud hairball. And the advent of the cloud was sort of touted as a panacea for the illness of disconnected systems. The problem is that's sort of like saying that cell phones were going to be a panacea for language barriers. So it was great when you got a cell phone, you could talk to someone anytime, anywhere. But if you called them and they were in France and you didn't know French, that wasn't going to help. And really, between all these systems, there really is a language barrier. They all talk a different language. And so what we've done is take an approach of building a unified system where everything can talk to everything. And I'm going to drill down, some of this may be review for some of you, into the underpinnings of Oracle NetSuite. It starts with the unified cloud platform, delivered purely in the cloud, built all on Oracle technology. It's a unified data model, and everyone is always on the same release. That was amazing when, for the first time in my career to see that. And the next thing that I thought we needed to add, and like the first time a customer asked to put a custom field on one of their records, we were off and running. My background had actually been in building systems to make it easy for people to use databases and build applications on top of databases. So we built that all into NetSuite. It's called the Suite Cloud Platform. It's a point-and-click sort of customization capability with visual workflow management, for example. And actually, if you need to, there's powerful scripting, robust integration APIs, all those partners and sponsors that you see over at the Marriott are using those APIs. And most importantly, when you customize and configure and modify NetSuite for your business, those customizations survive across versions. It's the end of version lock. On top of this platform, the cloud and Suite Cloud development platform, we built all the actual business functionality. So that's started with accounting, just like Larry told us to, but went on to all of sort of ERP, order management, project management, supply chain management, and really what has been a huge focus for us is lately is omni-channel commerce. We also have CRM, and we announced a new product called SUITEPEOPLE, which I'll talk about in a bit, for human capital management. And this is delivered using our OpenWorld technology, which is technology that allows you to run NetSuite around the world in all your subsidiaries. They run in their local conventions, local accounting, and it all rolls up for the global finance view of your business. And to do that, we needed to become multi-book for different accounting systems. Obviously, multi-language, multi-currency, multi-tax. We spent an enormous amount of time and energy on that. And then finally, we needed to put kind of the last story on the house, which is focusing on industries. And you want a system that's right for your type of business, whether you're a software or a services company, nonprofit, a manufacturing company. And we've built into the core of NetSuite technology to help with your industry. And then we've gone even further using the Suite Cloud Platform to build technology for actually independent verticals. So that's kind of the basis of all this. But having just a unified cloud suite was the starting point. And in the past few years, we've really seen that we needed to do more. We wanted to solve our customers' business problems wherever in the world they worked. We wanted to bring what we learned from our 14,000 customers in all these industries. We wanted to bring best practices to other companies making the same transformation. And we wanted to drive innovation in our products even faster. And so the great news is that's what we've been able to do when we've teamed up with Oracle. And the combination is allowing us to deliver more than ever before. So we got more industries, more countries, a very, very fast development of new capability, international capabilities, more products. We'll talk about some of the products, especially the ones that we're integrating with Oracle, and more success, really delivering to your type of company exactly what you need to be successful with NetSuite. So I'll talk about each of these in turn. So we'll start with industries. We see the world really in kind of a series of, I guess it is, 7 or 8 major industries. So there's, let's see, we'll go through them all. There's software, services, agencies, nonprofits, manufacturing, wholesale distribution, and retail. And most of you probably work in one of those industries. Within those industries, we've been delivering features in NetSuite over recent versions that really are very specific. And some examples are ASC 606 support for software industries doing revenue recognition, global bill of materials management for manufacturers, improved cash drawer management. I mean, if you're a software company, you probably don't need a cash drawer, but tons of our retailers do. So we're really drilling down on specific capabilities for each of these industries. But we're going beyond that. We're now looking at verticals. They're narrower categories with even more specific needs. And in many cases, we're partnering for micro verticals to deliver a complete solution using the Suite Cloud platform. So countries. Well, we were in a few countries before. We're in a lot. We're going to be in a lot more now. But beyond that, we just needed to improve our global financial capabilities, things that everybody needs when you're running a global company. Companies are going global faster than ever, really from the start in some cases. And these recent features are making it easier for global finance teams to manage that transition. So a lot of our focus over the next few releases will be around intercompany transactions, managing the transactions that occur between your different subsidiaries. And that's one of the things that finance teams spend the most time doing when they do a global close. This is where we are today, or where we started when we became part of Oracle. A few different countries, and the pace of getting new countries was sort of lumbering. Well, with Oracle's help, the pace is now accelerating. It's blistering. Going from lumbering to blistering, that's good. But really, the reason we can do that is Oracle's presence and expertise in all of these different regions. And the way we think of our global capabilities is we want to act global, but be local. So somebody using it in India or Germany or Brazil feels like they're using a local business system. And yet, it's all one instance of NetSuite across the company, and your global finance team gets a single real-time view. Your product. So we're doing some great stuff internally to build great capabilities inside of NetSuite. The biggest thing that we've done lately is SUITEPEOPLE. It was a multi-year effort. It's a lot of just core HR capabilities, workforce management, compensation and benefits. It's a fully integrated system for HCM. It includes US payroll. We have partners for payroll in other countries. But most importantly, it's deeply integrated into the core business processes of NetSuite. That's our special sauce. It all works together. So for example, in professional services automation, being able to see vacation time, being able to see skills, being able to assign resources based on that. That's an integration that we can do best because it's all one system. And we really put people at the center. The group that built this was from an acquisition that we did, and we saw a team that knew how to build an HR system that puts people at the center. We've redefined kind of how an employee interacts with an HCM system. We have a fully customizable employee portal, and that's really the essence of what differentiates SUITEPEOPLE. Besides the great integration, it's the great customizability. Everything that we've allowed to be customized, in 18 years of building the Suite Cloud platform is applicable to the SUITEPEOPLE component of the system. We're announcing a couple great things today. The first is the Oracle Blockchain Cloud Service. So when you hear blockchain, your eyes glaze over or you think of Bitcoin. But it's really something bigger than that. It's not just about cryptocurrency. It's a general purpose, decentralized system for fast, secure transactions. And so by enabling the Oracle Blockchain Cloud Service to be accessible through the Suite Cloud platform, we're letting NetSuite customers securely extend and automate their supply chain processes, conduct online transactions in trusted networks, confidentially share data with their suppliers, banks, and other counterparties. This provides a secure audit trail and tamper-proof business record. So we're really excited about that. The next thing we've announced is Oracle NetSuite Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service. Say that one fast. But the Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service is sophisticated planning, facilitates both company-wide and departmental financial planning with modeling capabilities, approval workflows, and reporting within one scalable solution. It reduces planning cycle times, improves forecast accuracy. It's really something all of you do, and as the company grows, planning becomes increasingly important, managing how you're going to grow. And so this is a great tool, fully integrated with NetSuite, and you can take a look at it at the NetSuite booth at Suite Connect. And finally, one of the most exciting things for me, since I run the product team at NetSuite, is how we can leverage Oracle's core technology. And these are just some of the examples of things we're doing. We're integrating the zero data loss recovery appliance for recovery and backup. We are using Oracle's multi-tenancy. We're moving towards using Oracle's multi-tenancy to deliver better performance and better upgradability to our customers. We are using Oracle's engineered systems to deliver the fastest databases and ultimately their cloud infrastructure. We think that's a great way. I mean, we have 99.99% uptime over the past 12 months. My team loves when I say that. They're rather superstitious. We're going to keep that up, and we're going to do even better. And we're going to deliver more scalability and more performance by integrating with these core Oracle technologies. Finally, I want to talk about your success and what are we doing there for your particular industry, for your particular vertical. We have announced Suite Success. It's the world's first unified industry cloud solution. And what that means, most importantly, is that we're going to sell what we implement and implement what we sell. We're going to eliminate the what the heck is this, I've never seen this before moment when you get done with your implementation of business software and that's not what I was sold. We are building these best practices into these industry-specific and vertical-specific editions, and that's what we're going to go to market with, and that's what we're going to implement. The same thing you saw in the demo is what you see with the customizations that you need for your business when you go live. We've had great results with this. We've had 60% faster go-lives for companies that are implementing with Suite Success. We've had 18% lower implementation costs, so that's great. And 90% of customers implemented with Suite Success are referenceable on day one. We've had very few change orders. I mean, again, because right from the beginning, you see what you're going to get, and you don't get that surprise moment and say, oh, I need to change everything. Over 630 customers, that's a great rate. So that's sort of what we're doing at NetSuite and what we're all about. I mean, we're all about helping you grow your business. We're delivering for your industry, for your country. We're delivering the products that you need. And we're delivering implementations that implement what we showed you and what we sold initially. But you can even learn more. And the way to do that is to go to Las Vegas, April 23rd to 26th at the Venetian and Sands Expo. That's Suite World 18. I think our 7th or 8th Suite World. I'll be up on stage again talking about all the great technology that we have. Jim will be up showing some great stuff. And I hope all of you get to make it in a few months. So next up, we have a great panel. We're going to talk to some great members of businesses that are growing like yours. And I'd like to introduce Prasad Kadambi, who's a partner, software and cloud industry for KPMG. Dustin Williams, the CFO of Nutanix. John Eichhorn, the CFO of Quicken. And Lynn Tromble, the controller of the San Francisco Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Did I get that right? Good, okay. All right. Let me just grab my questions here. And I'm gonna go over here. All right. Thanks everybody for coming.
Sure.
First off, I thought just take a little bit to introduce yourself and a little bit about your background and your company. Go ahead, Prasad.
Yeah, I'm with KPMG for more than 20 years. I'm the lead partner on Adobe and Salesforce.com, and we are like an audit, accounting, and tax services, professional services firm.
Fantastic.
Sure. Dustin Williams, the CFO of Nutanix, an enterprise operating system company. I think the easiest, best way to look at us in the very top level is effectively AWS for the enterprise, effectively. And what we've done is we've taken the infrastructure and commoditized and abstracted that through software and allow folks just to focus on apps. So again, we went public about a year ago. This is the third company that I've taken public.
Wow. You know, do you have any gray hair or no?
Less hair. Sure.
Great. John?
Yeah.
John Eichhorn, the CFO of Quicken. Our mission in life is to actually make it real easy for people with multifaceted financials to manage their lives. So when you get married, your finances get more complex. If you have a child, you plan for retirement, things get more complicated. And our mission in life, our purpose in life is to make it, is to allow people just like you to lead a healthy financial life.
Sort of NetSuite for the person.
Correct. It is. And
That's my
manage budget,
biased
plan ahead.
Great. Thanks. Okay. Lynn?
I'm Lynn Trumbull, the controller for the San Francisco Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. I'm an old CPA, and I actually I've been with the SPCA for about 2 years, coming from human health care. The San Francisco SPCA, as you would expect, adopted out about 5,500 animals last year. We have yes. We have the 2 largest veterinary hospitals in the city with 4,500 veterinarians on staff. And we also have a number of other animal welfare and education programs. Our animal-assisted therapy program has a booth over at the Marriott, and we'll be meeting some of those dogs later. But we went to about 6,000 various events last year with those animals, including the WAG Brigade at San Francisco Airport, jails, hospitals, and schools.
Fantastic. Great stuff. I'm going to ask a little bit to each of you about some of the challenges in growing your business. I wanted to start with Dustin. So you took Nutanix public. You said you've taken 2 other companies public. So maybe you could tell, sort of some of the key initiatives you put in place and what you learned from the previous times that you used in doing that.
Yeah, I think the first big learning event was to make sure you've got a pretty good team in place when you go into some of these companies, because the 3 companies I've taken public are drastically different in that area. Each progressed, by the way. I think maybe I just got smarter along the way to what to look for. But at Nutanix, again, blessed with a great team. So really didn't have to do anything from a team perspective, which was great. And then you didn't have to worry about hiring and the likes there. And you focused on process and what was important to get the company public. And again, good people bring good processes, so there are already a lot of good processes in place for Nutanix. What I focused on a lot was predictability and how you're going to predict the business as a public company. And if you don't get that right as a private company, you don't want to learn to do that as a public company because it's pretty painful. So when we first went into the company, it was mostly booking focused, and we were really good at understanding how bookings work. But then we went down, obviously, to the revenue level and the gross margin level and the operating profit and EPS. And we kind of nailed that as a private company, and which made it easier to bring it forward as a public company. Again, a lot of processes, a lot of blocking and tackling, some board things. There were no committees really set up at that point in time, so structuring the audit committee and the comm committee and things like that. So it allowed to focus on some higher level stuff, which was great.
Well, that's great. We're going to talk a little bit later about building great teams and keeping superstars on your team, getting superstars to come to your team. So that, definitely really important. So John, you Quicken just went through big changes, being spun off. And what were some of the challenges there, and how did you address them?
So the biggest challenge was, first, they brought me in to help spin the Quicken business out of NETSUITE, and we didn't know where we were going to get spun to. We could have been acquired by a large multinational corporation. private equity, venture capital. We could have gone anywhere, and not knowing where we were going to end up really put handcuffs on us, because I couldn't go sign leases if we were going to be part of a larger corporation. We didn't need any of that. We had operations here in the Bay Area, in Bangalore, India, and in Tucson, and we wanted to keep all of those teams. And on day one, so once we picked a buyer, there was like 60 days between that and the 60 days. I actually had to find brand new homes for a team in India and a team in Tucson, because they had to be out of the NETSUITE facilities. So a big challenge started with just me, who didn't know really Quicken that well, except as a personal user, and one FP&A person, going off to starting a $100 million startup from scratch. And the key really for us was hire really good people really quickly. In fact, I recruited somebody who used to work at NetSuite, a controller that used to work for me.
Okay.
So I hired somebody from NetSuite.
That's all right, you're forgiven.
And partnerships. I couldn't do it alone. So finding the right partners, there was no way I could do it alone. And I've learned this in past lives. You really need to find good business partners and rely on them. That's what they're good at. And it worked very, very well for us.
Fantastic. So Lynn, your organization has doubled in size over the recent years, and
Right.
Yeah,
Over the last
great. What's driving
6 or
that?
7 years. Well, we have grown a number of programs, but probably in 2014 was the biggest area of growth when we acquired the Pets Unlimited Hospital in Pacific Heights. So that grew us another 40%. We also started a program where we partnered with the city of Stockton. So we staffed their animal shelter with veterinarians and animal care personnel. And we brought their euthanasia rate from 80% to 20% in just a few years. Another program is the Community Cares program that just developed a few years ago, where we go out and bring in feral cats from the community and the Bay Area and spay and neuter them and then put them back in their communities. We do tend to keep their kittens and adopt them out to new families, but we've had a significant program growth, humane education, and we've gone from about 200 employees to 400, and our budget has grown to $40 million. So,
wow, it's a lot to manage.
Without NetSuite, it would have been difficult to scale that.
Well, thank you. That's great. That's why we do it. Nonprofits are a really important part of our business. Right from the very beginning, instituted a program to make sure that all employees got a chance to help nonprofits by helping implement NetSuite. That's one of the things they do, sort of part of their volunteer time, and we really believe in what you're doing. It's fantastic, great stuff. So Prasad, you work with a lot of fast-growing tech companies. What are some of the kind of trends and the types of initiatives you're seeing right now?
Yeah, in terms of from an accounting change is a big thing, which is consuming a lot of finance folks in the accounting change, and ASC 606 is a pretty significant change. From that angle, what I'm seeing in terms of the financial statements, generally for software SaaS, you're going to see margin improvement as a result of adoption of ASC 606. But I would kind of highlight to you guys that, hey, just because you have a margin improvement as a result of accounting change, the investors may not give credit for these companies. It is a significant change. We are seeing there is not too many people are keeping up with their goals. Like 60% of the companies are actually not hitting their initial goals, what they were thinking they're going to hit. So there are a lot of manual process. Even though there is manual process to get to adoption in the next 3 months, I can see most of them automating the system. Even if you have not automated your system prior to the adoption date, it's something to think about post-adoption to automate your processes.
Dustin, have you kind of encountered some issues with new accounting standards, ASC 606, et cetera? And how have you addressed them?
Yeah, we actually, Nutanix is one of the early adopters. So we actually adopted in August. I think, from a technology company, you've got Microsoft, Workday, and Nutanix out there as early adopters. And anytime you go through these things, they're complicated. But I think the advice that I would give there, and what our team did, again, we thought about this a long time in advance, and we planned for it a long time in advance. And we were previously doing our Rev Rec in Excel, and even in Excel, we had set up to mimic some of the needs for 606. We've since adopted the NetSuite Revenue Recognition Advanced module there, which has gone nicely. So thank you for those efforts. Yeah, anybody that hasn't really thought through this well in advance, it's not going to end well. And you've really got to spend some time with this. And we spent very little outside dollars, consulting dollars. It was mostly internal work that was done, and done in a relatively seamless way.
Yeah. Great. Well, so John, as you've been spun out, you've obviously had to change how you view the business, how you get the right reports and get the right information about your business. What have you done there to make sure everybody's getting real-time information and what they need to run the company?
So we've done a lot of work. We still need to do a lot of work. We've been out on our own a year and a half now, and again, we started with no accounting, no finance function at all, and we rely heavily on NetSuite and the other tools, reporting tools, to help get information out very quickly. We're using things like Tableau and Host, and it really is integrating that as much as possible to create daily dashboards and make it easy for folks to really focus on what's important to run the business.
Good. Well, it's great to see all the stuff you guys are doing with NetSuite. That's fantastic. That's why we do what we do. Lynn, what in particular in the sort of nonprofit world do you see as some of the challenges in growing faster? Not necessarily a for-profit business, but there must be some similarities and some differences.
Yeah, definitely some similarities. I think in initiating our implementation of NetSuite, we're really very focused on financial reporting, ERP, and it would have been helpful for us to have a broader understanding of all the functionality that was available. So now we're just starting a project to implement Warehouse Lite to really help us with our inventory management. And there's some other areas, CRM, that we currently have siloed applications that we're using, and we should have probably understood better what we could coordinate. Another issue that we have a little bit in common, and some not, is money. We are a $40 million company, but we're a not-for-profit, and one of our challenges is having all of you understand that we're an independent not-for-profit, and we don't receive funding from the government or the ASPCA or any other entity like that. And about 30% of our budget is reliant on donations and bequests. So yeah, that gets a little bit difficult to predict, and challenging for the controller to sleep at night sometimes. So.
Yeah, well, that's sort of your sales, right?
Yes.
Get a look at that. Great. Well, I have one last question for all you, and I'm going to go in a row. And it's kind of a fun one. So if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, business advice from from what you've learned in your career, what would it be?
When you see a problem, double down on your resources and embrace change. If you don't embrace change, you might be left out.
Yeah, and what, is there something you could think of that kind of drove you to learn that?
I think you can see, we had the biggest accounting change in 20 years, right? As Dustin kind of pointed out, his company was well prepared, thinking about it for a long time. I can see a lot of companies not in that boat yet. So because they're not embracing the change, it's trying to rationalize, hey, it's not going to happen to me, it's not happening to me, but it's actually happening.
Yeah. The only constant is change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is going to happen, so it's better to embrace it. You might need to upgrade your systems, automate your process. Otherwise, it won't be sustainable.
Fantastic. Okay, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I think mine is really simple, and I think it's really relevant for anybody, but certainly folks in my role, is that things are never as good as you think they are, and things are never as bad as you think they are. Because when things are great, you think nothing can go wrong, and you're not worrying about the things that can go wrong.
Right.
And then when things are terrible, they're so bad that you don't think anything can get better. Yeah. And they always do. So, and it really balances out some of the emotions along the way, too, and I think it's important.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses saw that in the financial crisis, the downturn there, that they had just been kind of coasting, and then when you can't coast anymore, you start looking and you're seeing some of the things. And I think from our business, we fixed a lot of things, And even when the economic climate got better, I think those changes we made were super helpful.
Important.
So great, John?
But kind of similar. It's the same advice I've been trying to give myself for the last 30 plus years I've been doing this. And it's like, when I go back to when we first spun out, in 2 weeks we had to have our first payroll and medical benefits had to be up and running. And I lost a lot of sleep over that. And it doesn't do you any good to lose the sleep. So don't sweat it. If problems inevitably occur, you have a good team and confident in your own skills, which I am, I know I'll get through it. So why do I need to be able to turn that clock off in my head at night so I can actually sleep better and be even better at my job the next day.
Yeah, it's great.
And I just need to be better at that.
Yeah, we tell that to my daughter all the time. Lynn, so what would the current Lynn tell the early career Lynn?
Yeah, I think briefly, don't be afraid of change. Change is constant, and it generally is an improvement on things. Always question current processes and be open to being questioned yourself. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming up and chatting with us today, and good luck to all of you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Did I put my... I'm just walking with these guys because it looks like it's in sync. There we go. Okay. We got something really special now. I'd like to introduce an NBA legend, a sports legend, really. He's the logo. Storied career as a player, storied career as an executive, and he's going to bring some of that great knowledge that he's gleaned over those many years. I'd like to introduce the executive consultant for the LA Clippers, Jerry West. Thanks so much, Jerry. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Good morning, everyone. Before Evan and I have a chance to talk about some things in the world of sports, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the lessons I've learned through sports. A lot of lessons learned the hard way, and how you can overcome them and set standards for yourself that will allow you to look beyond a win and a loss. When I was young, I was a big dreamer. I didn't grow up in the most ideal family situation. Matter of fact, it was miserable. And I was different. I wanted to do something with my life that was special. I wanted to feel good about myself. And years ago, I still have this on my bathroom desk, a quote by Carl Stanford: "Vision, nothing happens unless first a dream." I was a dreamer. I'm still a dreamer, even at this age in my life. And after many years of competing in a sport that I grew up loving, I had the opportunity to receive an education that led a life that was filled with both excitement, disappointment. I'm here today to talk about the lessons I've learned through professional sports. It's impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. Failure taught me, among things about myself, that I could learn no other way. I discovered that I was more strong-willed, more disciplined than I had suspected. I also found out that I had friends that truly had values above riches. The knowledge that you have emerged wiser and stronger from setbacks means that you are more secure in your ability to survive. You will never truly know yourself or the strength of your relationships until you both have been tested by adversity. You will inevitably make many mistakes in your life. It's important, as the late Eleanor Roosevelt once said, to learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. People will tell you no. Doors will slam in your face. Pick yourself up. Go knock on another door again. It's the only way to achieve your goals in life. I am a big believer in goals, and trust me, they should be written specific goals, not something in your head. Put them in your bathroom In today's world, the ever-changing world, and particularly the high-tech business, you're going to have to leverage your roles. You're going to have to change them from time to time, and new products become on board. New ideas form. Don't forget to do that in your life. J.C. Penney, at one time, almost forgotten today, had the greatest quote I think I've ever heard about goals. He says, "Show me a stock clerk with a goal, and I'll show you a man who makes history. Show me a stock clerk without a goal, and I will show you a stock clerk." Why do people not set goals for themselves? Well, it's pretty obvious to me. The biggest obstacle is the fear of humiliation, embarrassment, or ridicule. The point is to learn what you can do and move on. At the end of the day, you will be judged not by your stumble. You will be judged by how you persist in the pursuit of your goals. Life is one long lesson in humility. Just remember that pride makes us artificial. Humility makes us real. In my opinion, people who are high achievers, look up the definition of humility. It's the greatest word in the world. Be bold, be prudent, but life is about risk-taking. And trust me, the best risk takers do the best. My definition of a risk is the following. Go to Las Vegas, somebody gives you $100. You bet that $100, you're done. If you get four $25 chips, you might lose the first three and still have the ability to recover. Gamblers lose, prudent risk takers succeed. So after many unaffected decades as a basketball executive, and after many decades of errors, missteps, and regrets, I offer a list in no particular order of some of the lessons that life and the world of sports have tried their best to teach me. Number one, life must be fun. Kindness is essential, and you do need to work at both. Number two, smile, laugh, and be pleasant. This may sound naive, it's not. Some of you are too young to have seen this movie. Elwood B. Dowd. He was a central character in Harvey, the movie Harvey. Elwood said, "My mother used to say to me, Elwood, in this world, you must be oh so clever or oh so pleasant. For 40 years I tried clever. I recommend pleasant." Number three, be strong enough to say, "I don't know." When you don't know or understand something, say so. Don't guess. Don't fake it. If you don't have the answer, say so. The following 7 words often work best. I don't know, but I'll find out. You won't mislead your colleagues, and people will respect your honesty and self-assurance. Number 4, life is too hard to be lived alone. Find time for your family. You only get one. In my case, thank God I only had one. Work at friendship. Develop a talent for friendship. Friends fill a life. They represent perhaps the purest choice you ever make in your life. Number 5, and please listen to number 5. Don't be colorblind. People are different. Your world is indeed a rich, open, diverse, multicolored, multi-ethnic, multi-textured, multicultural experience. Declaring that all groups are the same is a deception. Believing that some ethnic groups are better than others is a moral disgrace. We aren't all the same. We shouldn't try to be. Opposites attract, they also educate. And finally, number 6, help some people along the way. Find a cause you care about. Involve yourself and start early in life. Try to start a fire in someone's life who has enormous talent. And if you're a leader, you're going to make a difference in that person's life. It is hard work. Identify those talented people. Do not let them quit. Make sure you set high standards and goals for them. I'm a vociferous reader. I read everything. Also, a thing I most like are some of our leaders today, and boy, this world sure needs leaders today. The greatest leader I've ever read about in my life is Winston Churchill. And I would ask each and every one of you to study his life and some of the things he's done in his life, there are so many historical things. If you read his letters and notes, his speeches, this man had a mind that was beyond belief, and he was a leader. There's a book I read, very simple, The Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. The four agreements are as follows: be impeccable with your words, speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using the words to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. I will guarantee you, everyone in this room has experienced that before. Everyone. And in sports, after games, you hate everyone. Your language is horrible. You speak about people terribly. And at the end of the day, you might have great respect. You might have incredible respect. Make sure you do that in your daily life, and particularly the people you work with. Don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of your own reality, their own dreams. When you are immune to opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering or feel horrible about yourself. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions, to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. And number 4, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you're healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstances, simply do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. And finally, I'm going to leave you with these words. And particularly in a business which requires a lot of verbal talk, a lot of verbal interaction, this is what I have learned in my days as an executive. How you work with each person is a unique art. Effective leadership depends on your ability to connect and motivate people, not on your title, position, or power, but on the trust and respect for you. This is, to me, it's crucial for everyone's success. And particularly if you're designed as a leader, people will forget what you said and forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And I will tell you today, each person who comes to work every morning, if you can get the kind of employee that comes because he can't wait to see you or interact with his own workers, they come there because they like each other. They come there because they love their job. If you can find a way to employ people who work because of that commitment, and they just don't work for a paycheck, trust me, you will have a company that will continue to grow. But as a leader, you have to show that every day in office. Every day you're there. Make them feel special. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jerry. That's some great advice, and I love the principles you articulated. I thought maybe we'd sit down and I'd ask you a few questions that maybe we can drill into the details.
Okay.
Probably some NBA fans here. I know I am. So take advantage of this opportunity. So I think a lot of people here are facing similar challenges, and one of the biggest, and it's what I've seen in my career, is attracting and retaining great talent, superstars. Superstars move the needle more than anybody else in your business, in your team, whatever, in any organization. So I thought I'd ask you about a couple, examples of maybe attracting superstars. You've attracted some great superstars to the Lakers. You helped in a big way on one particular guy that everybody knows in this room, on the Warriors. Maybe you could chat a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, there's superstars in every business, every industry. Trust me, they are. And for each and every one of you, you have a chance to work with someone really special. They are an enormous resource to you. Don't be jealous. Don't be envious at all. Just watch them. Watch how they work. Watch how they interact with people. Some people, almost, again, jealousy enters into it. Just watch how they work. They're different. They think different. You can learn a lot from them as long as you're willing to open your eyes and ears and just listen. Some of them might say a little, some of them might be very vocal. And that would be the advice if you have one of those superstars working for you. But professional sports, you know how many people involved in professional basketball in the NBA? Have any idea? 420. Of all the people who play basketball in the world, here in this country, it's a worldwide game today. The criterion for making in this league is very, very, very difficult for anyone unless you have a unique skill or a unique skill set. And I have been fortunate in my life to have worked with some really incredible superstars. All of them are different, but they have one or two things in common. Their minds are wired differently. They see things quicker. Is anyone a fan of Malcolm Gladwell? He wrote a book called Blink. I'm a Blink person. These players, almost all of them, are Blink people. They see things that you don't see. They see them quicker. Basketball is a game of angles, okay? It's a game of knowing, being a play ahead. Just as in business, if you can think ahead of someone else, you're going to beat them to the punch. These guys have it in spades. They know what the heck they're doing. And just to be around them, the difference in personalities, some of them are big personalities, some of them are quieter, more softer. And I'll tell you one of the most unique ones, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Everyone talks about Michael Jordan being the greatest player. You know, to me, I love Michael. I would put him right at the top of the list, but 1A would be Abdul-Jabbar. He is one of the brightest athletes I have ever met in my life. And it's almost like basketball was a sideline for him because it was so easy for him. He didn't even look like he worked at it. He was a play ahead. He's huge, of course, but his talent was unmatched. His competitiveness was unmatched. But he had a soul about him. His soul was he believed in social issues. He's a brilliant writer. Then you have Irvin Johnson. I don't call him Magic Johnson because when he played basketball, he's Magic Johnson. Otherwise, he's Irvin Johnson to me. When you put a ball in his hand, there was not only something electric about him, but if you look and try to find leaders, he was a consummate leader. This personality was so big. His competitiveness was so big. Yet he was like Abdul-Jabbar in a different way. So who attracted the most people? Irvin Johnson, that big, infectious smile. But he was a real leader. I have seen so many of them in this league and have been involved in so many of them, played against so many of them. And trust me, they're different. It's a word that people throw around too loosely in the basketball world. There's probably only 6 of them maybe in the NBA today. An all-star player is not a superstar. He's a great player, but he's not a superstar. Had an opportunity for the last 6 years to work for the Warriors, and I will tell you, probably the greatest experience maybe I've ever had in my life. Because I was involved not only with a unique ownership group who had a common goal to build something special, but also players. This was the most unique group I've ever seen in my life. The nicest people, 4 all-stars on one team, which is unheard of, and how they interact together is really special. And last summer, the Warriors had a chance to do something that no one thought they could do, acquiring Kevin Durant. Trust me, this guy's otherworldly, okay? He says he's 6'9", he's 7 feet tall. He looks like a tarantula flying through the air. He's got about a 7'4" wingspan. He's unguardable. He's unguardable. And in talking to him last year when he was trying to make up his mind, I said to him something really special. I would never say anything derogatory about any organization at all. Every organization has their own soul. And he went from a great organization to another great organization when he came here. Everyone in this room, I'll guarantee you, you want to be looked at differently. And by that, you want your true skill set to be recognized by whom you're working with and the people who you work for. Kevin Durant was thought of solely as a scorer. He was more than that. He was a basketball player. And it was amazing to me to see what the people said about him when he came here, to fit into an incredible environment where these players, they'll go out, 10 or 11 will go out to dinner night. I have never in all my life, for all the great teams I played on, the great teams I had a chance to be involved as an executive, I've never seen this in my life. There's something unique about this group of people. But he was recognized all through the playoff. What a wonderful, all-around player he really was. And just by changing an environment for him to come to a team that was so teamwork orientated, it was a thrill for me when he won. Maybe the biggest thrill I've ever had as an executive. For all of the things, derogatory things that were said about him, this is one great person. He's one great teammate. And I think sometimes some of his social media comments, I think he was angry at what's said about him because he's a good guy. He earned the right to leave. Just as everyone in this room probably, hopefully you stay in a place you love to be, but you're going to have other opportunities if you are good at what you do. If you leave, is it because you're not loyal? No, that you think you can make a bigger contribution somewhere else. And for the Warrior fans and for the Bay Area, you've got a treat watching this guy play for a few more years.
Yeah, I thought his answer when they said, oh, you took the safe route, I loved it. He basically said, why are you saying this is safe? I'm a person, I'm moving to a new city. I don't know anybody here. I'm making a massive change in my life. That is not a safe choice necessarily. And sometimes I don't think we look at these people as people. We look at them as sort of icons only. So that was really interesting. When we talked a little earlier, we talked about retaining and attracting talent, but you talked about the challenge when sometimes you fail to retain talent or somebody leaves and how you manage that in an organization. You told a story about what you had to deal with in that kind of situation.
Well, probably one of the saddest things I've ever had to deal with in my life was Irvin Johnson announcing he was HIV positive. People think players are pawns that you can trade. Sure, you can trade them. They can leave through free agency. Trust me, you get to know them pretty well, and you get to care about them personally because of the makeup of them, their families. And all of a sudden, we were in France, and he had to come back early. And I said, uh-oh, this is not good because the insurance, he failed a test. And we get back to Los Angeles, and all of a sudden, I know what's going on. And at that time, when someone was HIV positive, you thought it was a death sentence because there was no care for it, or seemingly no care. And I remember that press conference. I sat there and I said to myself, my God, look at this magnificent athlete. Look at this great person. And we may not see him a year from now. I could have cared less about being responsible for organizing a team or trying to replace him, which he was irreplaceable. And so it took me a week to try to really focus in how can we get better. We couldn't get better at that point in time. We had no ability to do anything because our season was starting. So how were we going to get better? We had to have some sort of plan. Our plan was a year from then, 2 years from then, that we were going to get involved in free agency. And there were a real big prize out there, and he was a really big prize. He happened to be named Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know if any of you ever had a chance to interact with him. One of the most fun people I've ever been involved with in my life. You would love him if he was in this room. He'd probably come in riding a motorcycle with a helmet on. Great guy. But the lengths that we went to get him was unbelievable. I had never met him personally. I knew his college coach. You could not talk to any free agent then. They had a lockout. And he was participating in the Olympic Games. And so we had a chance to start talking over the phone. And he and I became very friendly over the phone. And we talked every day. I don't care where he was. We talked every day. And for some reason, we made a connection. But also, there was an ace in the hole. His agent was named Leonard Amato. He was a personal friend of mine. He lived in Los Angeles. And Shaquille wanted to be a movie star. You know, a lot of the lady actresses are very small. He's 7'1". Can you imagine him having a leading lady with him? It had to put him on a stepladder, or her on a stepladder, to get up to where it will look sort of okay. But just through connecting and knowing more about him, trying to get this point across to him, that the Lakers had won numerous championships with Abdul-Jabbar, and I also told him that we had drafted a young kid by the name of Kobe Bryant. We got him through a trade at number 13. And again, everyone is trying to, with your products, you know, we got the best product. Well, I thought he was the very best player in the draft, and he slipped all the way to 13. And I told him, I said, we've got this young guy who's going to be the best player in the league along with you in a year or two. Well, anyway, after many long conversations, the greatest elation I've ever had in my life when I said, I'm coming. I'm coming to Los Angeles. The fortunes of this franchise changed overnight. The ticket sales, revenues were way up. And we paid him an extraordinary amount of money, $120 million in those days. Doesn't seem like a lot today, by the way. But he was worth every penny of it. And we won 3 championships with him there. And it was, again, part of the legacy of the Lakers to have these truly iconic players. And when people get elected to the Hall of Fame, I would defy everyone in this room. If you go look at the retired jerseys in Los Angeles, the greatest players who have ever played the game, truly greatest, the Lakers had more than any. And probably one of my proudest moments to watch this team through the despair of losing Irvin Johnson to our vision to building a team that the city of Los Angeles would like. One of my greatest thrills ever.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Jerry. And I wish you great fortune with the Clippers up to a point.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your time.
Thanks. Thanks.
Jerry, before you go, we can't let you go. Come back. Okay. I want to make one quick statement. Hi, Evan.
Good to see you. Another great athlete.
Thank you very much, Evan. In 1973, when I was just a little boy in New York City, I was a huge Knicks fan. I don't know, he spent a lot of time, I couldn't help but listen to him talk about all these great players. This is at the top of the list. Top of the list. Top of the list. I remember in 73, I know you do, the New York Knicks, I was a huge Knicks fan. We had a chance to win the NBA championship. Game 5 in LA, chance to win. He hits a shot from 70 feet. 70 feet, swish, 70 feet. This wasn't a three-pointer, should have been an 8-pointer. And we lose. Luckily enough, won it in Game 6. I'm sorry. But this, you know, has anybody seen the NBA logo? This is the NBA logo. This is the guy you see making a shot. He's really one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a selfie, backward selfie of the whole crowd with Jerry. You're all going to be in the picture. Hold on. Come on, Evan. Okay. Jerry, you got to be in the middle. You got to be in the middle. Evan, you're inside. Picture of everybody. Everybody. We're going to tweet this. All right, can you do it? You got to get it up high. There you go. All right, get that off.
Fantastic.
Great.
Jerry, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Good luck to everyone.
Thanks. Thanks again.
Where do you want to sit?
All right, either place. All right. Here he is,
You
my,
don't get-
my boss's boss.
You don't, that's a treat.
Oh, awesome. I could have gone on for an hour,
It's just,
2 hours, but
I'm telling you, when I growing up, I really didn't like seeing the Knicks play against him. He's from West Virginia, All-American, led that team, arguably the greatest guard in the history of the sport. That guy.
well, and now
Sorry, I couldn't help
no,
myself.
now we're back to business.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. So,
Sure.
Mark, some of these people, coming from the NetSuite world, want to learn a little bit more about Oracle. What's the big picture strategy for Oracle?
Well, Evan, I think we've been on a journey for the past several years to really embrace the whole movement of our industry to the cloud. I think most of you know the industry historically was vertically integrated. If you went back in the 80s, when you had IBM sort of in its heyday, everything was sort of verticalized, and that's all changed over the past 30 years. This movement to the cloud is, this is not just a technical thing. This is a business model, generational change in the way we think about IT, and Oracle's strategy has been to not resist that, but embrace it. And we began years and years ago working at the application layer and really trying to rebuild the applications of the company, build a suite of applications, build best-of-breed applications within that suite. So each application had to be the best, and then a suite of those best-of-breed applications. And we worked real hard on that. We're still working on that. Steve Miranda and his team are still working. That work will never stop, but a lot of progress. Then in addition to that, build out our platform, which for us, platform means everything that's not an application or compute and storage. And as you heard a lot at this conference, continuing to build out our infrastructure. So our strategy is to really continue to support all of our on-premise capabilities, but now build out the most complete, the most modern, the most advanced cloud portfolio in the market at the application platform and infrastructure layer.
And so how do you see NetSuite fitting into this overall strategy?
Well, I know you know this all, Evan, but I mean, for the group, I mean, NetSuite to us was, first a great partner. So our relationship with NetSuite over the years has always been extremely collaborative. NetSuite is built on an Oracle platform, so there's a lot of synergy between the two. But we really believe the two biggest categories in the industry in software have been database and ERP. And our view was the best ERPs in the market were ours, Fusion, and NetSuite. Now, targeted a bit at different target markets. NetSuite really originated in what you would think of as small and medium business. Then you can define that a couple of different ways. And we historically have been focused on some of the bigger, most complicated companies in the world. And so our view was this was just a perfect complement to what we were doing, and that together we have the two most successful, advanced, modern finance and ERP systems in the world.
That's great. And you've been working with Jim really closely. And what do you think some of the things we've accomplished in the almost year?
First of all,
we've been working together?
I give you and Jim tremendous credit. I mean, I think the energy and spirit. I mean, all of the acquisitions we do are a little different. In spite of what some people write, they think we do everything the same way, and we really don't. We improvise depending on the situation and the company that we're working with. And in this case, NetSuite brought a tremendous team. Our view was to try to give NetSuite all the best of Oracle, and to be very frank, make sure none of the other parts of Oracle that could potentially hinder our progress with NetSuite would get involved. So try to give the best of both worlds, and I think so far we've seen an acceleration of growth, which is extremely encouraging. And I'm sure we'll talk more about some of the discrete things we're doing, but I think the progress has been fantastic.
Great, yeah. And I think some of the people here are, just getting familiar with Oracle. Can you talk a little bit about how these companies can take advantage of the sort of broader Oracle platform, some of the things you're doing in infrastructure and platform as a service? Is that something these people should be looking at?
I think it's all the above, right? I mean, we've talked before about, great thing about NetSuite was it went public. Bad thing about NetSuite, it went public. And so, you as a management team had to deal with all the issues of being in the public markets, and that sometimes influences various things that you do. So, our strategy, to support NetSuite is pretty simple. Accelerate its opportunity into the market. That has multiple pieces to it. One, we want to increase distribution. To simply get more points of presence, more salespeople, more partners to be able to, and that really is a global statement. So many times, if you look at most of the SaaS companies that have gotten any scale, they have very common characteristics. They're generally pretty good in the US, and it's tougher when you get outside the US, as you know. We have a tremendous breadth of distribution globally, and we certainly want to take advantage of that. So growing NetSuite outside the US, a big opportunity for us. Second, to put more R&D into NetSuite, frankly, to localize for more countries, which we think is a big opportunity. And you can talk about countries, whether it's Germany and Japan, Southeast Asia, the Nordics, Mexico. You can go to all of these markets that particularly have big SMB market opportunities. There are opportunities for us to localize the product and get into play. Then, to bring our portfolio of capabilities, whether it's budgeting and planning, HR, any of the capabilities we have, and integrate those in with the NetSuite portfolio.
That's great. And you talked about international. Just as you're looking at Oracle's business, NetSuite's business, and maybe you can share some thoughts you have about what's happening internationally. Where are the hot places to go if you're a company? I mean, a lot of these companies are expanding internationally, and would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, 65% of our revenue is outside the U.S., so we're a very global company. I could give a pop quiz. Does anybody know how many countries there are in the world? Do you know, Evan?
200.
It's very good. It's disappointing how accurate it is. So it's roughly right. And depending on whether you use the Olympics or the United Nations as sort of a benchmark, it's roughly.
I should tell you that one of my college friends is the world's most traveled man, or was the world's most traveled man, and so I followed his exploits, and that's how I know that number. He went to 200 countries.
Okay. I don't think you should have disclosed it. I think you should have just said, "Listen, I'm smart." That's sort of how I know. So anyway, about 200 countries, and we'll cut an invoice in 65% of those. So extremely global, extremely broad distribution, and we want to bring that leverage to NetSuite. If you look at hotspots around the world right now, I mean, the world at a GDP level is really only a couple of points of growth. 40% of all that GDP growth is in one country. It's in China. So the 60% of that growth is really spread out. Europe is doing what it's been doing for a while, sort of 1% GDP growth. That said, there's a very different sort of alignment of companies when you get internationally. A lot more, if you will, small and medium-sized business. So when you get to some of the countries we just mentioned, lots of small businesses. So I actually think while GDP growth may not be as exciting in some of those markets, there are a lot of companies in those countries that frankly haven't had the sort of capabilities that we can bring to them. So I think they become really attractive markets, for us.
Great. And we talked a little bit today about industries, and what do you see for NetSuite in terms of industries and more broadly in Oracle, industries and verticals, and how they play into the strategy?
Well, we've long invested in verticals. I mean, so we've got a whole set of businesses focused on retail and financial services, which we call our global business units. But, Evan, to some degree, I think NetSuite's done, in some ways, even a better job than we have at Oracle with some of the things you've done, not so much just around verticals, but actually even micro verticals. And I've been really impressed with the thought about going after not just retail, but actually segments like apparel or bookstores, et cetera. And you know, there are, as we all know, nuances in some of these micro verticals about different things that go on. And so our commitment, I think, is to continue is all the things we'll spend more R&D in NetSuite, and one of the things we'll spend more money on is more micro verticals.
Right, and you know, you've learned. You talked about how we've been able to make rapid changes, not being a public company. I mean, that's absolutely been fantastic. And one of the biggest ones has been Suite's success in bringing kind of a full addition to different parts of the market. You know, how do you see that panning out, and is it relevant for some of these? What are some of the lessons from that some of these companies might benefit from?
Well, you know, listen. I mean, you know, part of what goes on in SaaS has historically been a big change in the economic model, and the implementation of these services sometimes can be harder and even dwarf the service itself. So the ability to go at these rapid implementations, the ability to get these done quickly, to get these done right, again, I think a significant initiative on the part of NetSuite. Frankly, something we at Oracle want to do more of. You know, in fairness for us, making sure we can raise the quality of the kind of experience a customer has, particularly if you're a small and medium business. You don't have time for, you know, lots of challenges. You want a simple, easy experience. So I think Suite Success is a fantastic initiative. And again, I think we've mentioned this like several times about this public company thing. But I think the opportunity now for us to, you know, invest more inside of NetSuite is something that the public markets would have given you a hard time about. But it's not for us to, frankly, up the R&D in NetSuite by 20%, 25%, increase the distribution by 30%. These are the kind of things you can't do in the public markets, but we can do with NetSuite as a part of Oracle. And so our ability to invest in Suite Success, invest in R&D, invest in localization for more countries, invest in more micro verticals, you know, our view is this is all about growth for us and better experiences and better capabilities for our customers. And so this is what we're going to do.
Just for people that are attending OpenWorld for the first time, what's exciting this year that they might want to be learning more about?
Well, it's 60,000 of your closest friends, so you know it's a big group. Obviously, there's a lot of entertainment. There'll be concert tonight, and I'm told it's a really big deal. So they told me we have the chain smokers tonight, and I'm told that's a really big deal.
Your kids told you this?
Yeah, because they explained it to me, and it wasn't clear to me when they explained it to me what a big deal it was. And then I asked my oldest daughter, and she said, "No, that's really a big deal." So they'll be here tonight, and there'll be a singer named Ellie
Goulding.
Ellie Goulding, right? Yeah, that's another big deal. And it was again explained to me this was a big deal, so I believe it. So we'll have all of that. That'll be at AT&T Park. I mean, clearly we made a big announcement Sunday night, which was a thing called the autonomous database. Larry likened that to a self-driving car. This is where technology and AI will start to do all of the work. You're going to hear very, you know, I was on TV at an interview, I think it'll air tomorrow, where a commentator said to me, "Can you explain to me what patching is? I hear about patching now a lot, and I don't know what it is. Can you explain to me why it's so hard?" And this obviously comes along with all these things around Equifax and some of these breaches. And part of what we've announced here is really the opportunity for technology to do so much of this difficult work for customers, really helping them with security, eliminating labor, giving them better performance. And a lot of this was aimed at our ability to help our customers move a lot of their database, bring their technology to our infrastructure, and leverage that. Then on top of it, we probably made, Evan, some 140, 150 different product announcements, you know, in our application space, our platform space as well.
Great. So you got the stage. You know, you're my boss's boss, so you can stay up here as long as you want. Any closing Any closing thoughts?
Well, I don't really want to stay up much after, but I would say this. For those of you that have that are NetSuite customers or prospective NetSuite customers, to be very clear, we did not spend $9.3 billion not to invest in NetSuite. Our strategy from the beginning was to not only acquire the company, but to invest in the company, to accelerate the company, to invest in the core strategies I've described. Increase points of presence and distribution, increase the number of countries we could bring the product into, which meant for us increase sales expense, increase R&D expense in the product, increase the number of micro verticals, bring the broader Oracle suite of capabilities in to help NetSuite increase its portfolio, and that's what we're going to do. And we're excited, and Evan, we're excited to have you, Jim, and everybody in NetSuite on the team. I mean, this is I think this is going to turn out to be as exciting, if not the most exciting acquisition that Oracle's ever done.
Fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you all.
Really appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Okay.